What's up, guys? It's Feeve Chief here, and today we are going to be going over my 2023-2024 Premier League predictions. But before we jump into that, I'm going to show you the easiest way for you to get some coins. If you guys are looking for the cheapest and most reliable coins on the market, make sure to head over to utnice.com and use code CHIEF for 5% off at checkout. Now let's get right into this video. Alright boys, so diving right into this video, we are going to be putting these teams in order, in tiers, all the way from relegation, all the way up to champions, and just talking a little bit about why I think each club is going to finish where I put them. So let's go ahead and jump in. 20th place, a club that a lot of people have in 20th place. I'm going to be putting Luton Town, just really small club. I think it's going to be really difficult for them to accrue points with the squad they have. And while I think it is going to be tough for bigger teams to play away at Luton, I just don't see a scenario where they're picking up that many points this season. And for very similar reasons in terms of just the squad talent, the depth, everything like that, I'm also going to be putting Sheffield United in at 19th here. I think a lot of people have these two in the relegation zone, and I think for good reason. I don't see a scenario where the squads they have are going to keep them up. And then my last team in the relegation zone, which I really thought was going to get relegated this year, and I don't think a lot of people were on the same page, was Wolves. I mean, they were absolutely horrendous this past season. I think sacking Lopetegui was a great move for them. However, they were horrendous performers last season. They sold Ruben Neves. They sold Jimenez. I don't think they have it in them. The only scenario I see where they stay up is they have some young Portuguese kids come out of nowhere, really good performers, and whoever they bring in as the manager really gets everything to glue together quickly. But I think it's going to be really tough for them, and I've got Wolves as 18th going down. Next, 17th position, I'm going to be putting Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth has a nice squad. I think they've got some good players. I don't understand the sacking of Gary O'Neill. I think that could potentially be an issue in the locker room, but Bournemouth, I don't think they've done enough this summer. I think they stay up because I don't think they're as bad as these three teams I have going down. I think there's a significant gap between these three teams and whoever finishes 17th, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, we got Bournemouth in at 17. Next, we are going to go Nottingham Forest. I found this kind of range of teams to be really difficult because I think Nottingham's a solid team. I think they're really difficult to play at home. I think it's tough to go there and win. They did it to City this year in a 1-1 draw where it felt like City should have scored 6 goals, but it's tough to put Nottingham 16th because I think they're good. I think Morgan Gibbs-White is great, but just a lot of other great teams in the league that I really couldn't put this low. So Nottingham finishing 16th, and again, I think there's a big gap between this relegation zone and these other teams, interestingly enough. But in at 15th now, I'm going to go Everton. I think Everton are bad again. I think it's going to be a very Sean Dyche season where they're not very inspiring, but I think it's going to be very Sean Dyche where they're not really flirting with relegation. I think they're going to be fine all season. I think they could be 6 points clear of that area and never really worry about it, but I do think they're just not going to be good. So it is what it is. Coming in at 14th, a team that I'm very, very excited to watch, other than week 1 where City needs to smack them, which is tomorrow. We will be live streaming as well for that. It is going to be Burnley here. I can't wait to watch this team. I am a Vincent Kompany fanboy. I'm very excited to see what Burnley does. I think a lot of people have them performing well this season. I've slotted them in, 16, 17, 16, 15, 14th, because I think they can. I think especially if they can get off to a good start. I think they got a lot of momentum coming in. I think they're a Premier League club. I think they have the squad. I think they have the manager, and I think they can get some draws against some big teams, and I think they can put in some good performances against the likes of like Luton and Sheffield and get 3 points there. I think they're going to be a tough team to beat every single week, and yeah, I think they're going to be finishing 14th there. Coming in at 13th, a little bit of a drop off for an obvious reason, and a lot of people actually have them lower than 13th. I'm going to be putting Fulham. Now, obviously, the big mention is they no longer have Alexander Mitrovic, which is going to be crazy for them. The amount of goals he scored in the first half of last season was mental. They still have some other great players in there. One to mention would be Paulinho. Big fan of him. Incredible defensive midfielder. I think they overall just have like a very decent squad all around. I think they're very, very solid. And I think Vinicius coming in at striker can still score some goals for them. So I think they're still going to be a solid team. Don't think they're going to be in that 16, 17 range. Don't think they're still going to be in that 9, 10, 11 range in the table. I think 13th is an appropriate spot for Fulham. And I know a lot of people have them potentially going down because of losing Mitrovic and just kind of like the history of Fulham going up and down, which is understandable. In at 12th place, I have West Ham actually, which massive improvement from last season. While they've lost Declan Rice, a lot of people are going to be surprised by that. I know a lot of people have them, closer to that 16, 17 range. They've lost a £100 million player. People don't like David Moyes. They were horrendous last season. I think the spark of winning that cup could be huge for them. I think they're going to bring in Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay. I think that deal gets done. And while a lot of people think that's kind of dumb, I think that's great business for West Ham in terms of just wanting to stay in the league and, kind of finish around this range, the 12 to 15 range. I think that's good business for them. And I'm a big fan of some of their other players like Souček, Jared Bowen. I think they got some ballers in their squad, and I think they can finish 12th if they put things together early and just kind of like ride that out. Next up, a team also missing their striker, much like Fulham, but for different reasons, is going to be Brentford in at 11th place. I think the manager is phenomenal. I think the overall squad is great. I think the way they play is perfect for a club like Brentford. And obviously, I think they struggle early on without Tony's goals. And he is a top 5 striker in the league, I would say. I'd have to make a list, but top 5 striker in the league, in my opinion. I think it's going to be really tough for them dealing without him and his goals, but I don't think they're in the relegation zone by the time he comes back. And if they're not in the relegation zone when he comes back, I think they're fine, and I think they can put on a good performance this season. I think Brentford, they're just like very solid, aren't they? I don't see a scenario where they're in that like 16 to 20 range, even without their significantly best player. So Brentford in at 11th. Into 10th, I've got Crystal Palace here. There's so many players on Crystal Palace that I just really, really like. And the fact that it's just Crystal Palace, they're pretty much guaranteed to finish between, I don't know, 10th and 14th. So I've got them really high here, I feel like, at 10th. But the likes of Eze, Elise, I mean, the players in their squad, it's just very Crystal Palace. They're going to be average. They're going to be fine. They're going to finish mid-table. It is what it is. So I got Crystal Palace in at 10. Next up, I got Brighton coming in at 9, which, again, another team where they're going to be losing some very, very important players to them. Obviously, they lost McAllister. There's the potential of losing Caicedo. There's now talks that Man City are in for Matomo as a Mahrez replacement. As it stands, I think Brighton could easily finish 9th in the league. I think they still have the squad. I don't know that they're going to sell these players for fees they're not happy with. And I mean, Brighton's Brighton. They're just very well run. I think it's one of those clubs where they're probably going to have some young kid we've never heard of be a very good performer this year, and they'll sell him for 60 mil next summer. So I think they got the players there. I think they're run well enough. And yeah, I think Brighton are going to go ahead and finish 9th there. And then 8th place, I think a lot of people are kind of like locked in on this top 8 here. And I think this is where it gets really tough. The 5 to 8 range, I think, could go any way. I'm going to be throwing Aston Villa in at 8th place, which honestly kind of pains me a little bit because I really like Aston Villa having Diego Carlos and Pau Torres. They've got Ollie Watkins. They signed Diaby. 8th place seems low, but I can't put any of these other teams below them down here. I think they're going to go far in the Conference League, which will keep adding games for them. I think that's huge for them. I think they're probably favorites to win the Conference League right now. I haven't looked, but I'd imagine they are. I have Villa in at 8, which seems low. And that brings me to the next team, which a lot of people are going to kill me for and think it's low, but I'm going Newcastle at 7. I think there's just going to be kind of like a natural regression of a lot of these players. I think Eddie Howe's great. They're going to have additional games with the Champions League. And a lot of people are like, well, they're going to get knocked out of the Champions League early. Well, that just means they're going to go to the Europa League, where they're a significant contender, I would say. And it's something they would focus on heavily. So it seems low because they have some world-class players. They've got a nice squad. But I definitely see a regression coming from the likes of like Dan Burn, dude. he can't be as good as he was. It's just not possible, right? So I've got Newcastle in at 7th, which means we are returning to the original Big Six this year. Which, interesting, like Chelsea finished what, 12th last year? 10th? I think it was 12th, honestly. So jumping into it, 5th and 6th place, I have Chelsea coming in at 6th, which some people would say is high, some people would say is low. For me, I think there's just a lot of good energy in that locker room, in that dressing room. I really trust Pochettino. I think they made some good signings. Now, I was tempted to switch them in Newcastle strictly on the fact that Nkunku is out for 4 months, because I think Nkunku could be one of the best players in the league. Basically, RB Leipzig and City have played in the Champions League quite a few times the last 3 to 4 years, and Nkunku has torched us every single time. I think Nkunku's unbelievable. I'm still going to put them at 6th just because of the Pochettino factor, and they have some really, really good players in that squad. I think they have the best right back in the world. I think Mudryk and Sterling could be great. I think their midfield is solid. They've just gone and done the release clause for Tyler Adams, so they can play Enzo as more of a box-to-box player. I think they have a good squad. I think there's good energy there. I love the manager. So I've got them coming in at 6th. And then 5th place, which a lot of people would say is high, is Tottenham. Now, this is under the assumption that Harry Kane does stay at Tottenham, which I think he will, but word is this morning that Tottenham is basically leaving it up to Harry Kane. If he wants to go to Bayern, they will accept the bid. If he doesn't, they will decline it, and that is that. I think he would be a moron to go to Bayern Munich. I think he should stay at Tottenham, and I think he will stay at Tottenham. So I've got them finishing 5th. I think their attack is unbelievable, that especially with the addition of James Maddison. I think it gives Harry Kane the ability to stay higher, which I think, while he does have that playmaking ability, I think could be very good for them, for him to stay a little bit higher, not come as deep to pick up the ball. I think they've got a very solid midfield, and their back line can't be much more of a mess than it's been. I think Hugo Lloris is way past it. I don't think he's very good. I think it's tough to put him as a top 6 keeper, 7, 8. You could convince me he's not a top 10 keeper in the Premier League. I would hear you out. So I've got them 5th. I don't trust the back line, but everything else about the team I think is very, very good. Coming in at 4th place, I've got Liverpool. Again, a nice jump from last season. And I think it's just really tough to judge them. I think they could finish 2nd. I think they could finish 6th. The midfield depth just isn't there. I don't know that they have those kind of hardworking running engine players that you need in the midfield. They've obviously like Salah, Van Dijk, Trent, Robertson. The squad is ridiculous. They could easily finish 2nd. They've brought in Zabzalai. They brought in McAllister. They brought in some great players. I've just got them finishing 4th because I don't know how different this squad is from last season and how much it really changes and where Klopp's mind is at. So I've got them coming in at 4th. In 3rd, a lot of people are going to get mad at this, but I'm putting Arsenal. They really pushed City to the end last season. They, at one point, were up by 8 points in the league. And they've added a Kai Havertz. They've added Declan Rice. They've added Timber. Yet I've got them going to 3rd. And again, it's very much a Newcastle situation where I see a regression from a lot of these players. I think Declan Rice is a big signing for them. Kai Havertz, though, I just don't buy the signing. I don't think it makes sense. They needed a striker. I don't think he's a striker. He's more of a midfielder. I don't think they're going to play him and Odegaard together in the midfield unless they're going to visit Luton or Sheffield or Wolves or Burnley. I don't really understand the Kai Havertz signing. I don't think he's very good. I think they overpaid massively for him. And again, I just think there's going to be a slight regression, even though they have gained experience with that young squad. I don't have them finishing 2nd, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Obviously, I have them 3rd. I think any of these teams, 2 through 4, could finish 2nd and have a very, very good season. In 2nd place, though, I have Manchester United, as you can see here. I think Ten Hag's doing some great things. I think they've made some amazing signings. Højlund's going to be an interesting one because that striker position is very difficult for them. And I did see that Højlund, in his medical, some like back issues came up where they're going to limit him to basically 1 game a week. And just as a young player coming in, having all the Haaland comparisons, being a 70 million pound player, I think it's going to be difficult for him. So I think that's the main issue for Manchester United is going to be to figure out that striker position. But I do think they're unbelievable. I think that midfield is amazing. I think the addition of Mason Mount was incredible. I mean, the midfield is beautiful. The back line, while it isn't like flashy, I think gets the job done. And I don't know. I just have a feeling about them. On paper, I feel like I should have them finishing fourth. I think it should go Arsenal, Liverpool, United. But for some reason, I've got them second, and I'm just going to rock with it. And that leaves us to the champions, Manchester City. They're the best in the country. They're the best in the world. We've lost some significant parts of the squad. I don't think it's going to... I think it's a league where there could be a team or two still in contention with 4 weeks left. But I think City are going to pull it out. I think the experience, I think the players we have. I don't think it's going to be a 10, 15 point league win. I think we could win it by 8 points. I think it's close down to the final 4 or 5 weeks. And I think they really pull it out. Feeling confident about that. So let me know your guys' biggest surprise you have coming. What you disagree, what you agree with here, and what club you support and where you think they're finishing in the comments. Lots of stuff to discuss here. Again, we will be live streaming as many games as we can over on Twitch, watching them with you guys. So yeah, let me know what club you support. Let me know your predictions in the comments. But guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.